Welcome to the Embeemakes knitting channel. My name's Melissa and I'm a knitter based in Belgium. First of all, I want to wish you all a happy new year, happy 2023. Because this is the first video of the new year. I wanted to start off with my knitting goals and plans for this year. I have 4 knitting goals for this year, which will lead into some specific plans I have to knit. But let's just go over them one by one. To start, I want to knit as much from stash as possible this year. The past year I have gotten a lot of yarn, most of them with a project in mind, but I just haven't gotten around to knitting the project yet, or sometimes also the project I had in mind changed for the yarn. I have a couple of ideas I will tell you about later in the video. The second goal is to knit more colorwork projects. At the end of last year I did my first colorwork project, which was the jagged little socks. So it was also a sock project. But this year I want to try more colorwork. Mostly socks, but I also want to try maybe a colorwork sweater. Then my third knitting goal is to knit some wardrobe staple cardigans. I mostly knit sweaters last year. Well, I knit one cardigan, the Ulster cardigan by the Knit Purl girl, but it's in this, well, it's a beautiful pink. But I want to knit some more neutral cardigans, also some more form-fitting cardigans that I can, well, actually wear on anything almost, that I can wear a lot. So I do want to take my time for it, choose a nice yarn, choose the right pattern, but more on that later. And the fourth knitting goal is to knit 1 pair of socks each month. I will do my best to do this, but I'm not sure if it's possible, because I do want to knit some more complicated socks, like colorwork socks or with some special textures. And I do want to take my time for it and make them as good as possible so that I will wear them a lot. Those are my 4 knitting goals. Now we can go into the specific plans I have to accomplish these goals. And the first category is socks. I have some lovely sock patterns in my Ravelry library, some free patterns and mostly paid for patterns, and a lot of colorwork socks that are from the designer Stone Knits. I bought these patterns a few months ago, but I hadn't gotten around to knitting them yet. I got a lot into looking for patterns for colorwork after I knit the jagged little socks. I think the first one of these I will cast on the socks by Penrose knits. I think the lovely Anna socks. That will be the first one I cast on using some Vilcolana Arvetta I have in stock. You can maybe see them up here in my yarn shelf. I have lots of lovely colors I acquired last year, and I want to use them for that. And for colorwork socks I might try and use some hand-dyed yarn I got from Ginger and Thyme, or Olivia and Elver fibers. I have lots of sock yarn, so I will try and not buy new sock yarn this year, or almost none. I am participating in the Yarn No Buy organized by Alluring Knits on Instagram. It's a challenge which lasts for 3 months. And there are a couple of little challenges every 2 weeks. And so I've started going through my stash, looking at what I have, and putting some things on Ravelry. But I won't put everything of my yarn in it because it's quite a lot. But I do want to knit a lot from stash, not only for these first 3 months of the year, but throughout the entire year. Only if I really need a specific yarn for a project, like for the cardigans I will talk about later, I will get some yarn for one of them, because I don't have a yarn like that in stash, but more on that later. I also want to knit some more textured socks, like with just simple knits and purls, or with a bit of lace, or a bit of cables, or combination. I will also use my hand-dyed yarn for that. Yes, and I want to experiment with my own design maybe for a sock. Just some simple changes to existing patterns maybe, just for myself, to try and experiment with color work a bit. I have bought a book with color work charts, I think, but I will show that in a later podcast episode soon, because it hasn't arrived yet. So yeah, that are my plans for my socks this year. Of course, I know there will be coming a lot more new sock patterns this year, so I'm open to new patterns. Maybe do a few test knits also this year, because I have done 2 or 3 test knits for socks last year, and it was only my first year of knitting socks. So yeah, that would be fun as well, but we'll see. Mostly important is that I try and knit as much from my stash as possible for this, and try and knit 1 sock per month to get my goals for this year. Next category is sweaters, and I have my yarn for these in my tote bag here. I made swatches for most of these, I think, or maybe all of them, because these are all patterns I'm thinking about with to make with the yarn that I have in stash. I have sweater quantities for these, so I want to try and get rid of them, knit them up in some beautiful sweaters. It's maybe a lot to knit all in this year, also with the socks and the cardigans that I'm planning, and some accessories of course, but these are just what I have yarn for and what I want to make with them. So let's get to the first one. The first one is the Crescendo blouse by the Knit Purl girl, and I have this pattern in my library already, so that's also something I will try and do, is knit the patterns that I already have in my library. But yeah, also of course will buy new patterns when I really find something lovely, because I have some other yarns in sweater quantities that I don't have any plans for yet. But yeah, Crescendo blouse by Knit Purl Girl. I will make it with the woolly knit cone. This is a ball of this yarn. I have a full cone of this. It's a purple woolly knit merino. And I have some kid silk by Drops in a matching purple. And I have my swatch. Don't know if you can see well. It's lovely purple, dark purple. So that's what I will make with that. This will be something I cast on soon, I think, because the dark purple I think is a lovely color for winter. And yeah, it's a nice woolly yarn. The next pattern I plan on making with yarn from my stash is the Cargill sweater by the Creabea. Again, I have the pattern in my library already, and I have yarn for it. And the yarn I will be using is Knitting for Olive in this lovely mustard color with a bit of a darker mohair, also by Knitting for Olive. And this is the swatch it creates. So this sweater has a lovely dip stitch pattern. It's really squishy and nice and soft, even around my neck. So yeah, I think this is more of a fall color. So I will probably cast this one on late summer, end of August, beginning of September, so I can wear it in the fall and winter, of course. Also, the sweaters that I'm making, I'm thinking more long term, because I do wanna, well, I put all this time and effort into making it, so I want to have it for a long time. That's why I'm also picking some, well, these are more expensive yarns than Knitting for Olive. The woolly knit cone was quite, well, not so expensive. It Drops is also really affordable. But it's, yeah, really woolly and nice quality. Because these are not on too large needles, all these. Well, these two that I have already, and the other, but some are on bigger needles. But yeah. The Cargill sweater. The next one I'm planning to make is the Peacocksweater by LeKnit. And I had this pattern I think since 2021, end of 2021, when I started to get back into knitting. This was one of the first patterns I bought, but I just hadn't gotten around to knitting it yet. I did buy the yarn for it, so this has been in my stash for yeah, a year, I think, almost a year. I'll be using some Drops yarn, the Drops Melody in this teal color, and matching Drops Flora. These will be really lovely. I also have a swatch for this. This is on bigger needles, so this will, I think, go by quite fast. It's really soft. And yeah, with the lovely lace at the top, I think it will be a really nice sweater. I think I might also cast this on before summer, maybe somewhere in March, because I do think this would be a lovely sweater for spring on the colder days. So yeah, the Peacocksweater. Then next up is the Augustesweater. I have talked about this sweater, I think in my first podcast episode in September last year. I had bought some yarn on vacation in August in this beautiful sagey green. This is Katja Soft Graté. It's fully acrylic yarn, acrylic and polyamide, and it has a lovely halo. So it looks a bit like a strand of fingering with mohair. It's the same thickness as well. So I want to make the Augustesweater with this. And I have made a swatch. So it's a lovely with the cables and just the plain stripes. I think this will be really, really lovely. It's also lightweight and soft. This will also be a lovely spring sweater. Yeah, so we'll see how fast I can knit all this. Maybe this will be my spring knit, or that I will cast on in March, and maybe do the Peacocksweater near the end of the year, or also depending on how hot the summer will be, I can maybe knit on some of these in the summer, because here in Belgium normally it's not too hot. But yeah, the Augustesweater. Next up is the Soufflé by Penrose Knits. I got this pattern right after it was released, and I got the yarn recommended in the pattern for this because it was around my birthday last year, and I wanted to treat myself to some nice yarn for my birthday. So I got the Lang Yarns lace. And I have started already. This is also in a teal color. I got this at my local yarn store, and there the owner said that this looks really pretty on me, and I do like this color. I know it's something I like to wear, and I think it will be perfect for the soufflé. So I already started on this project last year in May, but then it got put away. I didn't work on it over the summer. I have a bit of the yoke done, but really not that much. I'm not even at the ruffle placement yet. So this will be a long project, but I will knit on this in between other projects and try and finish this before my birthday this year, which is mid-April. So I think if I start on it now again, just a few rows or a few centimeters each week, I think I can maybe get it done. Because it would be really lovely to wear on my birthday. Yeah. The Soufflé tee. Next pattern is only recently released. It's the sweater number 9 Light by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I was first thinking about knitting the regular sweater number 9, but then she came out with a light pattern, and I thought it would be more suitable for me. I had a yarn in stash, which was the Drops Charisma in this purpley pink color. I thought this was a really lovely color for that sweater. I again made a swatch to see if it meets gauge, and it does. So this one, I don't know when I will cast this on. I really would love to cast everything on right now, but I know that's not possible, because some of these use the same needles, and yeah, I will not get anything done if I cast on everything right away. But I will maybe work on 2 sweaters at a time, or combine 1 sweater and 1 cardigan to knit on at the same time to switch between the projects. So yeah, that takes us to cardigans. The first cardigan I want to work on is the Pippin Cardigan by the Knit Purl girl. I first got the sweater pattern for it, and I had yarn for it already, but then I thought that it would be better for me to knit the cardigan, because I love the stitch pattern of it, and I did want to knit some staple cardigans as mentioned in my goals, so I decided to also get the cardigan pattern. I will sometime in the future knit the sweater as well, I think, because it's a lovely stitch pattern. I will be using Filcolana Arvetta. I think this is the marzipan color, which is well known in the knitting community, I think. And for the mohair, I'm using Filcolana Tilia, but in a more white color, because at the time, this is also in my stash for a year now, I think. I was saving it for something special because it's more pricey yarn that I got from my boyfriend in 2021 for Christmas. So I wanted to save it for something special, didn't know really what to knit with it. At first I was thinking about the first sweater by Hive Knits, or just something simple in stockinette stitch. But when I saw this cardigan, I thought, yeah, that's perfect. This is a really natural, neutral color, which will be perfect for my staple cardigan. And so that's why I choose to knit the Pippin Cardigan with this. And I really love the swatch it creates. It creates a more light beige. It's really lovely with the stitch pattern. I think it will be a lovely cardigan that I can throw on over my t-shirts or a blouse. I can wear this to work or at home. Just perfect. And the next cardigan I want to knit is by Petiteknit. It's the balloon cardigan, and the yarn I want to use for it is Filcolana Pernilla. And all the previous yarns I had sweater quantities for in my stash, but this I just had one ball to try the yarn out. And yeah, this color is just perfect for a staple cardigan, and the balloon cardigan is just a simple stockinette cardigan, and I really wanted to try out this yarn for it, so I made again a swatch. I used different needle sizes to see what got gauge. I'm going to size down a needle size because this is too open and it's a bit too big. It's a really lovely fabric, and so I will get a full sweater quantity of this yarn, but I will hold it single, no mohair or anything to pair with it. I like the fabric how it is. It's nice, it's soft, it's light, just perfect for a staple cardigan. So that's some yarn I want to buy. But I will get started with the Pippin Cardigan first, I think, because I do already have the yarn for it. That's all the yarn and swatches that I have here with me. I do also want to knit some accessories because I do have some single skeins of yarn, or sometimes just 2 skeins of yarn that I can use to knit some mittens or a headband or a hat. One particular headband I want to make is the Ginger headband by Adorable Knits. I already made some mittens with Gabo wool fog last year in the green, and I do have another ball left, and I will use that to make this headband with, to go with my mittens. The mittens don't have the cable pattern on it, but because it's the same yarn and it's also textured, I think it will be a lovely set. And another pattern I want to make is the September hat by Petiteknit, because yeah, I haven't talked about this goal in particular, but I do also want to knit some new techniques this year. Last year I learned a lot of new techniques because yeah, I was still very new to knitting. I like sock knitting, and yeah, colorwork knitting was also new to me. But something I want to try is brioche stitch, or the half fisherman's rib, like for the first cardigan or sweater. I do want to try these techniques out as well. Maybe not this year, maybe that's for next year. But I think if I start with a simple hat or headband, I can try the technique already and get comfortable with it before I start a full garment with it. So yeah, I think that's everything I had planned for this video. I know it's a lot of sweaters. Well, for some people it might not be a lot, but I think it's possible. Last year I knit I think 2 sweaters, 2 cardigans, and 3 summer tops, and then some socks and accessories. But I was a lot slower. There were periods of time where I didn't knit because I just didn't feel like it. That's also possible this year, I don't know. But I do feel more confident in my knitting. And I really wanna, yeah, also have all these sweaters and cardigans in my wardrobe. I wanna wear them. But I also wanna enjoy the process of making it. So I don't want to rush things too much. But yeah, if you want to be updated on the patterns that I will be knitting, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Maybe put the bell notification on so you know when I post a new video. I will be giving updates on all these in the next podcast episodes. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, maybe got some inspiration out of this for your own goals and plans for this year. If you want to share your goals or plans with me, feel free to comment them below and like this video if you enjoyed it. Have a nice day and hope to see you next time. Bye!